The Iron Game Chalk Talk podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors: EliteForm.com and IgnitionAPG.com. And now, the Iron Game Chalk Talk podcast. Welcome to Iron Game Chalk Talk with your host, Ron McKeefery.
Every time our athletes walk into this weight room, they're going to be pushed to the max.
Let's go! Everything you got!
On this podcast, hear Coach McKeefery straight talk about training, featuring the top strength and conditioning professionals from around the world. And now, here's your host, Ron McKeefery.
Hey guys, welcome back to Iron Game Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Ron McKeefery, and this is episode number 49. Iron Game Chalk Talk is a weekly podcast where I bring you experts in the field to talk about various topics in the strength and conditioning. If you've not already done so, make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes and YouTube, as well as join the mailing list at ronmckeefery.com, so that way you don't miss a single episode each week. At ronmckeefery.com, we make sure to give you all the show notes for this episode as well as any of the others, so that you have all the links that we mentioned and the resources mentioned by our guests all in one and easy place to find. This week, I'm excited to bring you Jon Jost, the Director of Strength and Conditioning at Florida State University. Jon is a good buddy of mine. I got a chance to know through the years, being at South Florida, him being at Florida State. You know, he was brought up through the Nebraska coaching tree, been at Holy Cross, a small school, been at SMU, mid-major, and Florida State obviously being a major. So he's had the gamut of experiences, and he brings a lot of that to this episode and shares a lot of great ideas. We talk a little bit about that coaching tree and what it was like to be in such a great learning environment. We talk about the value of mentoring young coaches and continuing education. And probably the thing that we talked the most about, and I think the most unique, is getting the administration to buy in and some of the tactics that he's used through the years and the position that he's put himself into to be able to have a great voice for the strength and conditioning department within the athletic administration. Before we get started, I want to take time and recognize our sponsors, EliteForm.com and IgnitionAPG.com, for bringing this episode and all the others to you for free. We're very lucky to have two companies that support us both with their products, but also by giving back to our profession and providing educational formats like this to our coaches. So please take the time to recognize them and thank them when you see them for supporting us and what we're trying to do within this profession. Ignition APG is a sports performance company based out of Cincinnati, Ohio, that I got a chance to get to really know, being there with the Bengals last year, and Cliff Marshall and Ben Kramer and the guys over there do a fantastic job, mostly training elite level athletes, but they have trained everything from the elite level athlete to the amateur athletes as well. But they're really doing some really neat things with their speed certifications and their product line. They have a Challenger sled, they have some Challenger bands, and they're launching a supplement line as well. And so, I would encourage you to go to ignitionapg.com or to their social media and connect with them just to stay up with all the current things that they have going on. Fantastic job as coaches, but also their mission and what they're trying to do with young men and women is phenomenal. So check them out at Ignition APG. If you like these podcasts, you will definitely love strength-ondemand.com. Strength on Demand is a online archive of strength and conditioning clinic presentations that Rob Taylor and myself have put together. It's all clinic presentations at your fingertips whenever you want. And we created this because it was a product that we were looking for our own learning, and it's cool to be able to pull up a clinic presentation when you're sitting on a bus, a plane, in a hotel room, something along those lines, just to get those small opportunities to get better. So check out strength-ondemand.com for more information about that. All right, sit back, grab a notepad and a pencil. I know you're going to really enjoy this episode, and you'll take lots of notes, and I'll see you on the flip side. All right, guys, very excited to have a good buddy of mine on the show today, Jon Jost, the Director of Strength and Conditioning for Florida State. Jon, appreciate you coming on, man.
Great to be here. Honored to be on this. I've watched a lot of them, and so It's fun to be on this end of it. I think we'll see how it goes.
No doubt. Hey, Jon, tell everybody a little bit how your story. How'd you get into strength and conditioning, and then kind of how you got to your current role?
Okay. Well, I was an athlete in high school, and for a lot of you that don't know, I grew up in Nebraska, and probably like every kid growing up in the state of Nebraska, you are pretty much brainwashed that there's nowhere else to go to school. And so I had an opportunity to go to some smaller schools as, whether it be football or basketball, but I knew that I wanted to attend the University of Nebraska. So I started out with intentions of being a physical therapist. And after my first semester, my counselor called me in and she's like, there ain't no way you're going to be a physical therapist. So I was kind of like, okay, I screwed up already. How can I right this ship? What's the direction I want to go? And I guess at the same time, I really, really missed being involved with athletics. And I read in the newspaper that one of Boyd's assistants at the University of Nebraska had left and went to Notre Dame. And I thought, that's what I want to do. So I arranged an appointment to meet with Boyd, kind of had an interview. I thought that it went pretty well, and I was called back. And when I was called back, there was another guy that was there, kind of my same age. I could tell he was a college student. So Boyd called this guy and I in his office, and he said, okay, I'm going to hire both of you to volunteer. And I'm like, shit, that's kind of a little bit of a contradiction in terms. When you're hired, it means you're usually going to get paid, and volunteer means you're not going to get paid. Well, he proceeded to say that after one semester, one of you would be asked to leave and the other one would start getting paid. So me and the other guy looked at each other and we're like, this sucks. It was an adversarial relationship from day one. And I kind of made my mind up. I was going to be the first person there, the last person to leave. Whoever was on the floor training, I was going to learn from, soak information up, and that kind of led, again, to me being hired. And then actually before I graduated with my undergraduate, I was hired full-time, which, that's just one of those things that doesn't happen anymore. Right. I was very, very fortunate to be to be at the right place at the right time. I went on to get my master's degree, and I knew that I didn't want to be an assistant my whole life. And so one of the hardest decisions I ever made was when I left Nebraska. I left to go to Holy Cross, and I was their first full-time strength coach that they ever hired. And it was an incredible experience for me. It was a great environment for me to go in from a kind of a school of the haves to the school of the have-nots when it comes to resources. And it was a great place for me to quite honestly make mistakes. And I made a lot of mistakes, but the thing about it was nobody knew because, it wasn't the high-profile position like University of Nebraska or Florida State or whatever. So 2 years later, I had an opportunity to go to SMU, and it was an incredible experience there. And it was kind of halfway between a Holy Cross and a Nebraska or a Florida State, and had an opportunity to work with some great people there, design a weight room, and be part of rebuilding their program. And then in 2001, had an opportunity to come to Florida State. So it's been an unbelievable journey to work with Boyd Epley and get the foundation that I did at the University of Nebraska, and also with Tom Osborne. At Holy Cross, I got to know Chris Doyle very well, who actually was the offensive line coach and spent a lot of time in the weight room. And I learned a lot from him. And then to come to Florida State and to work with an incredible staff, to work with Coach Bowden and be part of some of his legacy and some of the things that we've been able to accomplish here. Quite honestly, it's been a storybook type of the journey. I've really, really been blessed of everywhere that I've been and people that I've worked with. And not to say that it's been easy, because It's there's ups and downs and everything, and as I said, it's definitely a journey, but it's I've been very fortunate.
No, absolutely. And you had an opportunity to learn from and be mentored by some greats now, and it's such an important part of our our profession is being able to learn from others' mistakes, have the opportunity to make your own mistakes, but also the quicker you learn from other people's mistakes, the more success you're going to have, I think. And talk a little bit about, I've always been intrigued and, read Boyd's books and talked to Boyd, talked to you, talked to, other guys that were part of that Nebraska tree. Talk about that Nebraska tree and the lessons that you took away from being a part of that.
Wow, it's one of those things where to start, first of all, I guess I'll start with Boyd and that the vision that he had, or and he was, for some of you who don't know, he was hired in 1967, and without question, I would say is the godfather, the reason that we all are in this profession. Obviously the profession would still exist, but it'd be very different than what it is today. Mm-hmm. And his vision was unbelievable. He was the first strength coach hired at the collegiate level, and he is a person that definitely thinks big, whether it be growing a program at the University of Nebraska or starting an association for strength conditioning coaches, growing the profession, He was an incredible person to work with on a day-to-day basis, and I learned a lot from him as far as thinking big, working hard, utilizing your resources around you. As far as it didn't matter if you were a volunteer student assistant or Tom Osborne, he was going to listen to you and listen to your thoughts and your input and your ideas, and he developed a great relationship with his athletes. Before I got there, he trained a lot with his athletes, and that's how he started to develop a relationship. And even through the years later in his career, when he didn't train with them as much, when he was maybe more of an administrator, he still developed a great relationship with them. And a person that is often forgotten with the Nebraska staff is a guy by the name of Mike Arthur. Mm-hmm. And Mike was a competitive power lifter. He actually held the world record in the power lift at one time. And I would say that Boyd and Mike were the perfect team, where Boyd was kind of a visionary and was a great salesman. When you think about being able to go into Bob Devaney and to Tom Osborne and say, okay, this is what we need to do, and we need to put resources in this area when no other program was doing it.
Right.
And sell them on, built not only lifting and training as a football program, but the amount of money that they were putting into it. And then, that takes a lot of skills. And you can have great knowledge as a strength conditioning coach, but not able to sell your program, not able to develop those types of relationships. And he was able to do that. And then he had Mike, who is a very, very different type of personality, and very much a numbers person, very much about data, very science driven, and developing a program and building a program based on data and science. And so their teamwork is what led to developing Husker Power and developing that program and really building, I would say, again, being the foundation of what strength conditioning was built on. And back then, it was just football.
Right.
And I was part of a staff where it's kind of the old school model now, which, Boyd obviously was the head strength coach. And then there were, I think at the time, there were 4 or 5 of us, and we each had a sport. When I was a student assistant, I was in charge of baseball, softball, and volleyball, and then assisted with football. And I think that model is so strong and so good for a young strength coach because you have ownership in are able to write programs, interact with head coaches, deal with athletes as far as they see you as the leader of that program, and then you're able to work with the bigger sport, being football, and learn from, again, at that time it was Boyd, and be part of the team approach.
Right.
And it's unfortunate the way that it's gone now, and it's gone that way at Florida State, where you pretty much have a football staff, and then you have an Olympic staff. And if you're part of the football staff, if you are, other than maybe the right-hand person, so if you're 3, 4, or 5 on that staff, you're probably going to have very, very limited amount of program design, very limited involvement with the head coach or even the assistant coaches, and everything else in between. And the flip side of it, if you're on the Olympic side, you're going to get those experiences, but it's unfortunate that more often than not, you're going to get pigeonholed into, okay, you're a baseball guy, or you're a volleyball guy, and it's going to make it more difficult for you to grow and develop in other areas and get a position, whether it be on the other side of the fence, so to speak. And so it's unfortunate that that's the way that it's gone, but especially at your bigger programs, it has. And I think you can make a really strong argument that if you're a young strength coach, there are probably some really good advantages to go into a smaller school or a mid-major school where you can get full experience with football and every other sport, and see where you don't have to define your career at such a young age or very, very early on. So I know that's more than just that quick answer of tell me about Nebraska, but it was an incredible experience. And the other thing is it was an amazing launching pad for me.
Right.
The resources and the network that I had really from Tom Osborne through the whole football staff and the strength staff, which at the time I think I was the 24th assistant that had left the University of Nebraska strength conditioning Husker Power family and had went to a Division I or professional position. So to be part of that was incredible.
Well, that's always what's been so intriguing, and you brought it up where, as a young strength coach going to a smaller school where maybe they don't have the full 5 for football or something where you're able to work multiple sports and work, the revenue producing sports is so valuable, but it's also, in those internship opportunities where you're with 3, 4 other like-minded individuals that are all pursuing the same profession and being able to bounce those ideas off one another and learn something and then go practice it and implement it and see what's positive and negative about it. And that's what's been so intriguing about the Nebraska model for so many years, or what Boyd did there was it had to be such a phenomenal time to sit down and just have some creative minds talking shop, and probably late into the night a lot of nights. And it helped define you as a professional in this profession. But one of the other things I thought, and when I read Boyd's book, A Path to Athletic Power, whatever, was the administrative buy-in, like you mentioned earlier. Getting to be able to walk in and not only 2 years earlier they were saying football or lifting weights is completely bad, to get them to buy into lifting weights and turn around, and what are they up to now? About 10 weight rooms at Nebraska, to get them to turn around and put so much money towards a profession that was just growing and just now starting off, takes a tremendous amount of vision, like you mentioned. You've been able to do the same thing. You went to Florida State and you were able to build that program and into such a well-respected and valued resource on campus. Talk a little bit about some of the tactics that you used when you first got there to kind of get that buy-in by the administration, and then what are some of the things that you do now to keep it?
Well, I think I truly believe that this is a people business, and it's all about relationships, and that can be relationship from your boosters to your athletic director to all of the head coaches to the student athletes. And to me, being able to develop those relationships and then sit down and I'll not just have a conversation, but educate the value of what we do as a strength conditioning department for the athletic department. You know, we touch 500 athletes, and when it comes to really getting to know the athletes, if there's an athlete that is, maybe they broke up with their girlfriend, or maybe they're having a problem at home, maybe there's some kind of stressor in their life, or maybe there's something that is really exciting, we're the ones that know. We're the front line people within the athletic department that really have the pulse of the student athletes. And if there's something that is important to an athletic director, it is knowing the student athletes, or at least having a really good idea as to how things are going with them, and their health, their safety, and their ability to excel in the classroom and competitively in competition. And I would say that strength conditioning and sports medicine have that pulse more than any other department. Great. And so I've been able to grow my staff. I've been very fortunate that Florida State is the type of program that believes in providing the same opportunity for every sport, for every student athlete. And not every athletic department has the resources and is able to do that, but we are, and we have that philosophy. So I can honestly say that whether it be golf, baseball, football, basketball, we as a strength conditioning department have the tools to develop that student athlete fully, again, regardless of the sport. And it's been that's one of the things to me that's exciting to be at Florida State, because we accelerate, or we excel in every sport. Mm-hmm. Obviously, football is the flagship and the one that is so high profile and everybody knows about. But track and field's won national championships. Baseball's ranked number 1 right now, and every sport is expected to play in postseason, has played in postseason, and so it's fun to be, as cliche as it sounds, to pursue excellence. We do it across the board, and it's fun to be part of a program that's able to do that.
Absolutely. You mentioned this is a people business, and it's not just your relationships with your athletes, but it's your relationship with your coaches. And I know we've talked about this several times. I've come to you several times about the role that you play mentoring your coaches and the job you do with that. I know you value continued education. Talk about some of the things that you do with your staff, from meetings to sending them for continued education to any other requirements that you may have of them to continue to get better as a strength coach.
Right. Well, I would say that it's to the point now where I probably learn more from my staff than they learn from me. But we really try to operate as a complete unit. I guess first and foremost that I would say that we all know what's going on with each other's program when it actually gets to the athlete in the weight room. We all know what's going on, what their exercises are, what the program involves, the periodization, if you will, and that goes back to we're pretty close group, so we bounce a lot of ideas off of each other. We continually trying to grow and develop. As far as formal things, we have a scheduled meeting every week. We don't necessarily meet every week, but we have a scheduled meeting, and we probably average every other week. We do some informal topic of the month where we may, and it's usually actually led by one of our interns or one of our graduate assistants that comes up with a topic of the month, that they will then send an article out to us or the topic, and then they will present to us, because that gives them an opportunity to kind of present in front of their peers or in front of some, they're going to need to be able to present to coaches, to their superiors, and it gives them that opportunity to grow in that way and maybe be a little bit uncomfortable. And then we can toss it around and talk about it and hopefully sharpen each other and help each other grow. So those are just a few of the things, but I think more often than not, it's done informally, in that before a program actually gets to the weight room floor where it's being implemented, we all talk about it and know what's going on, and we're all reading different things at different times, whether it be an article or a book, and so it's to me, as a young strength coach, something that's really, really important is to have a group of people that you can interact with on a daily basis that you can grow from. Mm-hmm. And that's when I went from Nebraska to Holy Cross, the number one thing that I missed was that group of people to use as a sounding board to grow from, because it was me, and I was able to get some interns and bring some people in, but it was very different than being around a wealth of knowledge that I was in the middle of back then, and when I started in 1987, and what I'm in the center of now. So that's something that's really important, is to continue to grow, and not only grow as a staff, but each grow individually.
I know you spend a lot of time really, when you're conducting a search for strength coaches, you spend a lot of time and you really make sure that you bring in the right people. What are some of the top 3 interview questions that you have when you're sitting down with a coach and you got them a face-to-face or a Skype interview or something along those lines? What are your go-tos?
That's a good question, and I think I'm just coming off or just involved of hiring a sports dietitian, an RD now, and it's amazing going through this process. The simplest question that every single person is going to be asked in an interview is, tell me a little bit about yourself. How many people are not able to answer that question? And kind of, as you would, I think I've heard you say, is the elevator introduction. Yeah. In a short, concise minute, tell me about yourself, who you are, what your goals are, and what you stand for. And going through this process, we actually started out, had a phone interview, and we asked that question to an individual, and went on for 15 minutes, and I still didn't know anything about him. It was unbelievable. And so that's probably the first one, is that everybody needs to be able to, you need to know it, you need to write it down, you need to practice it, you need to rehearse it. Not that you want to be a robot, right, but you need to be able to talk about yourself, where you've been, who you are, and what you want to accomplish, and what you can bring to the program. I think is really, really important. I think the next one would be, I like to. I'm probably a little bit different. That I like to throw out some obscure or strange questions that they're wondering, what the heck is he asking me that for? So I've asked questions like, paint me a picture, tell me what your closet looks like, and to find out if they're organized or not, right? If they're clean, if they put things back, and if they can teach me something or paint me a picture so that I can envision what their closet looks like, right? And then I've asked them, okay, why did I ask you that question? And so I like to throw some curveballs at people. That's a good one. And but it's I think the whole interview process is really interesting, and I think it's really important to show that you're prepared, and it's really important to show your passion, and show that you're excited, show that hey, I would love to work for you, Coach McKeefery. I would love to be under have you mentor me. it would be an incredible opportunity to learn from you. I don't care where you're at.
Right.
And what sports I'd be working with, and to show that enthusiasm. And it's you have to be passionate, you have to care, and a lot of people, in this business, if you're not enthusiastic, have an opportunity to come work with young people and make a difference, not only in physical development, but help them grow as individuals in a collegiate environment on a college campus that is so special.
Right.
I mean, you and I know this is like sacred ground.
It is.
I mean, it really is a special place, and I don't care which college campus it is. College campuses are just great environments, and if you can't be enthusiastic about that and fired up about that, then you definitely need to go find another profession.
Absolutely, 100% agree with that. Well, John, we always end these shows with some resources here. So give me a quote that's either plastered in your weight room there or something that you live by.
The quote that, I guess there are two quotes that come to mind, and one is from Boyd Epley that was instilled in us, and I heard probably every single day for 7 years, and that is, the great ones adjust. And it's great to have a plan. It's great to have periodization, and it's very, very important to talking about quotes. Failing to plan is planning to fail. Have a plan.
Right.
But you are going to be thrown curveballs that you cannot control, and so you need to be able to adjust. So the great ones adjust, and then.
Not to cut you off there, but that's probably one of the single biggest lessons that a young strength coach has to make in their career is that I've got this plan. What do you mean that the football coach doesn't want me to squat?
Exactly.
What do you mean that they walk in 15 minutes late? It blows their mind. But the reality is that those things happen on a daily basis.
Without question, yeah, you have to be able to adjust. And so the second quote was the one that would be cliche, and that is that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I know that other people have said that on your show, and I really, if you truly care about what you're doing, about the people that you're around, that takes care of a lot of things. If you
Absolutely.
truly care, you're going to work hard, you're going to put in the extra effort. You're going to treat people right. You're going to do the right things. So it's one of those kind of all-encompassing things that if you truly care, it solves a lot of other problems.
Absolutely. What about, I know you're always reading, we're always exchanging books, ideas, and whatnot. Give me a book, an app, and a website recommendation.
The book that I'm reading right now, I'll give you two books. One is called Anatomy of an Era, and I'm going to plug a former strength coach at the University of Nebraska. His name's Paul Koch, and he wrote a book about University of Nebraska football from 93 to 97, and during that 5-year time, there were 3 undefeated seasons, and the record was 60-3.
Wow.
Which is pretty unbelievable. And so this actually is 2 volumes, and it's just kind of takes you through that whole 5 years, and it interviews a lot of players. And so that's one. And the other one is called Getting Things Done. And I'm in the middle of trying to become paperless right now.
Yeah.
And it's a monumental task, but we've actually done it in the weight room to where now all of our workouts at every single rack, we have an iPad. And so athlete steps up and they hit football, defensive back, and it's in alphabetical order, and their workout pops up. And so we did it first in the weight room. It happens, it's with every single program, football to golf, and it's been really embraced by our student athletes, and has worked out really well. It was designed by one of my assistants, Dan Schaefer, who is in the middle of trying to, tie it all together in a neat bow and be able to package it. So that kind of started us out on becoming paperless. And I know the whole thing is to become green, but I guess for me it's to be more organized and be able to document things better and to be able to function more efficiently. Mm-hmm. And so this book, Getting Things Done, which outlines some pretty good ways, some pretty good techniques to, as you embark on this task, to help you set things up so it's a little bit easier to do as you get into it.
Sure.
As far as an app, one thing that we use is called Good Reader. It's not a strength and conditioning specific app, but it is an app that is similar to a Dropbox, but helps us be able to take things from our desktop or from our computer and put it out on the iPad in the weight room and have the athletes be able to record what they did and or what was done in the weight room, make changes, and then have that be, synced back up to the computer. Mm-hmm. That would be the app. Website, I don't know. Website, I'll say, Seminoles.com. How about that?
say that again?
Seminoles.com.
Symbols?
Go Seminoles. Go Noles.
Besides the school one, we'll put that one up for sure. But give me something from a knowledge standpoint. Something that you go to regularly. It doesn't have to be strength and conditioning either.
I'm going to cheat. I'm going to cheat again here, and that is the NSCA website is making progress. They've overhauled their website, and they're trying to do a lot of things with video. They're trying to do a lot with the Young Strength Coaches Association, and I think it's becoming a better and better tool all the time. And that's the one that quite honestly I have not gone to a lot historically or the last few years, but I'm starting to go to a lot more and more. And I think it's important as strength coaches that we're involved in our associations. And I don't care if it's the NSCA or if it's the CSCCA. I believe that we all have an obligation to give back to the profession that has been so good to us. And, I never dreamt when I got into this profession in 1987, how many ever years ago that is, everybody can do the math, but that it would become what it is today, and that I would be able to have been part of so many amazing things. Move from Nebraska to Massachusetts to Texas to Florida, to be able to go to bowl games, to be able to go to national championship things, to be able to travel and speak. And it's all because of the profession of strength conditioning. And so I would encourage young strength coaches to learn about the history of strength conditioning, the profession, and where, I wouldn't say that we're in our infancy stages, but we're in our teenage years, and we still have a lot of growing up to do, a long way to go. And I would encourage everyone to again get involved with both associations and help the profession, because they're as good as it is, and this is the greatest job in the world. We need to be active to improve the profession and help the profession grow. If we don't want it to go in a direction that we don't want, we can shape it. Right. And we need to be active participants. A lot of people will sit back and bitch about things but not do anything. So Get involved. And so I'll say go to the NSCA website, go to the CCA website, and if you don't like what you see, contribute and make it better.
No doubt. Well, if I know we share the same passion for that, and we can often be found at the back of a clinic hall somewhere talking about this very thing. And completely agree with you on encouraging as many people to give back in whatever way that is. Some people like to write, some people like to do videos, some people like to speak, some people just like to be a part of things, and whatever way that is, find a way to do it and find ways to contribute to make to help make us all feel such pride in something that we do and spend so much time with each and every day. But you're a guy that does that on a consistent basis, and so happy to call you a friend, and really appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be on. I also appreciate the friendship. I've learned a lot from you through the years, and no question that as a leader, anybody has an opportunity to learn from you, not only from a strength conditioning standpoint, but from a mentor and somebody that can become a better person and learn about life. If you have an opportunity to spend time with Ron, I highly recommend it. He's a super individual. He's a great strength coach, but a better person. So I'll also appreciate the friendship, Coach.
Thanks, buddy.
You bet.
Okay, guys, a couple quick things before we let you go. Don't forget to check out eliteform.com and ignitionapg.com and let them know how much we appreciate them bringing this show to you for free. It was awesome to have Jon Jost on the show today. Please join me in the comments section at ronmckeefery.com, thanking Jon for coming on the show and sharing his info with us. All the show notes for this episode and others with links that were mentioned on the site are there as well. While you're there, join the mailing list so that you get updates on new shows and anything else that I have going on. If you haven't checked out strengthondemand.com, make sure to do so. It's a fantastic resource, and I know you'll love it. Lastly, please subscribe to us on iTunes and YouTube, as well as leave a positive rating and review so that we can continue to bring this show to as many strength coaches as possible. That's it for this week. Be sure to check back next week for another great episode of Iron Game Chalk Talk. Take care.